Be vigilant. Don't die.
Well, do as I say, not as I do, I guess. Episode 5 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is called In the Name of the Mother. No spoilers for the future of Dunk and Egg, but if I do, I'll warn you first. The beginning of this episode is wildly book accurate, all the way down to the Septon blessing the battlegrounds, and Lionel asking if it's chivalrous for Baelor to 1v3 the Kingsguard since he knows they're not allowed to hurt him. Except that in the show, it's Sir Robin who delivers that line, and Lionel Baratheon makes the very astute observation that Queen Maria Martell must have loved Baelor the best. After all, he turned out the most normal of all his siblings, the only normal one, perhaps. In the end, I guess Lionel was right. Maekar fought harder than Baelor since he had more to prove, as the unloved fourth son. Look at me being a psychiatrist. None of this is real. The book accuracy takes about a 20-minute interregnum to show us a glimpse of Dunk's youth in King's Landing, specifically Fleabottom, the district for the poorest of the poors. Same place Davos Seaworth is from, actually. Real men are made on bowls of brown. Well, Carl Tanner was from Fleabottom too, but he doesn't actually exist, so it's fine. So Dunk is scavenging the battleground of the Red Grass Field. This was the climactic battle of the First Blackfire Rebellion in 196 AC. That's 13 years ago by my calculations. Dunk was only 3 at this point in the books, so it's clear they've aged him up for the show. He's probably like 12 here, so he's like 25 in present day, the year of our Lord 209 AC. Anyways, I think this is a Lannister banner, so the dying dude is some unnamed Lannister, I guess. Probably from the secondary branch of Lannisport. Somewhere off in the distance, Bloodraven is celebrating with his squadron for dealing the killing Weirwood arrows to Daemon Blackfire and his 2 sons. But since none of that pertains to Dunk, we don't see it. This entire flashback is invented for the TV show, which is fine. Like I always say, I don't care if you make something up for your adaptation as long as it improves the story. And I don't know about you guys, but I think Ira Parker did a great job here. They just didn't have the budget to do a full 35-minute Trial of 7 sequence, so a roughly 20 to 15 split between present events and flashbacks is quite economical. Rafe does exist in the books. Dunk inner monologues about his Fleabottom crew in The Mystery Knight. Him and Rafe and Pudding and Ferret were all terrible children. I won't read this entire excerpt, but feel free to pause the video and read it for yourself if you care. It seems like Ira Parker wanted to portray young Dunk more or less the same as old Dunk. Oafish and lunkish, but ultimately kind and lovable. When Arlen of Pennytree stumbles onto the scene, he's obviously inebriated. My guess is that he's drinking away his sorrows since he's just lost his nephew and former squire. Roger of Pennytree is one of these dead bodies, after having his head caved in by Gorman Peak. Lots of head caving this episode. So that's how Dunk latched onto Arlen of Pennytree, and that's why he remembers Arlen's voice when he needs to stand back up and beat the piss out of Aerion. I'm also guessing the writers wanted to create a little parallel between Dunk and Egg, both having gotten their start as squires in similar ways. Egg followed Dunk all the way from that inn to Ashford Meadow, and wore Dunk down. And Dunk, on an injured leg, followed Arlen all the way to this campsite, and Arlen takes pity on him. And Arlen also realizes that this is a golden opportunity to get himself a new, free child laborer for the next 13 years. By the way, Arlen is singing in Dothraki. Is he fluent in Dothraki, or did he just learn this song from some Dothraki immigrant he met in his many years of hedge knighting? Or has Arlen traveled all the way to the Dothraki Sea, and perhaps served in some sellsword companies in the east? Does any of this matter? And am I caring about this way too much? No and yes. Anyways, here's the full translation from the original Dothraki, courtesy of David J. Peterson, who invented Dothraki. This video is brought to you by my patrons. If you enjoy my channel and you want to support me further, please give me $5 per month in exchange for these perks. Early access, updates, your username immortalized on screen right here, etc. Okay, thanks. Back to the video now.
Come on!
Hey, they gave Red some dialogue this episode. Rough. Now I'm going to be really annoying and analyze the entire Trial of 7 sequence basically shot by shot. If you need a reminder, this is how the two teams stack up. Put your parlays on Baelor and Dunk, I guess. I still don't know how gambling works. We learn that Humphrey Beesbury and Humphrey Harding, they're both named Humphrey, and they're even brothers-in-law. Isn't that cute? Well, it makes sense, they died together in the first tilt. Aerion gets his lance through Dunk's side in the first tilt as well. Then he Morning Stars Dunk's entire head. But Dunk gets a few punches in right here as they're grappling. Then Dunk gets his eye hurt so bad he can't open it. In the show, this happens a few minutes later than in the book. And that's where we leave off in terms of book accuracy, since the next thing that happens in the book is Aerion yielding. In the show, we get some more fight choreography. Raymond Fossoway has a little moment, still a horse, he's able to knock Aerion off Dunk for a second. Aerion loots a random sword off the mud, and Dunk gets goofed on by this passing horse. I can't really tell who this is. Either a Kingsguard, or maybe that's Stefan Fossoway. Is that the cider-colored horse armor I see? I don't know. Dunk takes a jab in the side again, but then thwacks Aerion's head with his mailed fist. In the background here, we can very briefly see one of the Kingsguard fighting Lionel Baratheon, which is the whole reason he showed up. Aerion blocks these sword thrusts really well, but he's unable to parry back with a cut of his own. And yep, this looks like Humphrey Beesbury's dead body on the ground here. We saw him riding towards a Kingsguard in the first tilt, and in the book that's Ronald of Duskendale who kills him. That's the nice bloke who Dunk spoke with in episode 2. Aerion gets Dunk pretty good here in the chest, and then chucks his sword at Dunk's thigh like a throwing star. Probably my favorite addition to the fight choreography compared to the book. It tells us that Aerion is beginning to realize that his 1v1 with Dunk is gonna be harder than he thought, and he's starting to do wild shit to survive. And here is Lionel still fighting that Kingsguard, or perhaps it's a different one. He's having the time of his life, I bet. We know that Sir Willem Wilde, this Kingsguard right here from episode 2, was carried off the field unconscious. So in the show, that's probably Lionel who did that to him. As Dunk stops to take off his helm, let me stop and praise Ira Parker and Owen Harris for having everybody wear helmets in the first place. I know it sounds so obvious. In what universe would a bunch of knights not wear adequate headgear while engaging in warfare? Actually, in the Game of Thrones universe, like when Tyrion Lannister, Lancel Lannister, and the Hound all neglect to wear helmets during the Battle of the Blackwater. And neither does this guy who Stannis slices. He needed a helmet real bad. I get wanting to see the actors' faces during extended periods of combat, but Owen Miller found the solution, and man, it's really obvious. Dunk wears the helmet as long as he can, and then takes it off when his eye gets poked and he can't see straight anymore. Anyways, Dunk swings savagely at Aerion until he gets his blade right beneath his crotch. I imagine this is a visual reference to Egg's audio story from last episode, about how Aerion would come into his bed with a knife and threaten to slice off his balls and turn him into a woman. As if the lack of testicles automatically makes you a woman. Aerion Brightflame is anti-woke, so he gets his nuts nicked. And this might be the moment right here. Two Targaryens are fighting, who can only be Baelor and Maekar at this point, and we see Maekar beating Baelor in the head with his spiked mace. Oh, and there's a dead Humphrey Harding doing his best dead guy impression. I kinda love how Maekar sprints over to try and save Aerion. Like, he knows Aerion's a piece of garbage, probably not to the same extent that Egg and we know it, but it's a very human impulse to rush towards your injured child. Little moments of lords and princes acting just as emotionally and even scared like normal people do. I love that. And I love how Lionel Baratheon throws something at Maekar here to get in his way. Maekar kills Lionel's horse, and the horse falls on top of him, but don't worry, he's not dead. Maekar is then blocked by two men. The man on the left appears to be wearing black armor like his, so that's probably Baelor, who's finally gotten back to his feet after taking that death blow to the dome. Other guy is Lionel Baratheon, I believe, who got up really quick after falling off his horse. Dunk takes a quick nap in the mud, and oh hi Gwyn, this girl is having the weirdest 13th birthday ever. And these people are Lannisters. The older guy is Lord Daemon Lannister, who actually got his ass beat by Arlen of Pennytree one time. And this is a son, Tybalt. The pretty lady here is probably Tybalt's wife, Tiora Kendall, unless that's his mom, Sarissa Brax, but I doubt it. She looks younger than Tybalt even. Aerion takes a look at Dunk, and I don't blame him for thinking he's dead. In fact, I don't think an alive person has ever looked more dead. but Lord Ashford is a solid bro and hesitates long enough for Dunk to get resurrected by Bloodraven's invisible cross-country necromancy. They resume fighting, and Aerion misses his chance to slice Dunk's neck, so Dunk wrestles on top of him and smashes his head in with his own shield. This is where the book accuracy resumes, and Aerion yields. Well, this shot of Raymond goofing on Stefan isn't in the book, but it should have been. Uh-oh, the heir to the Iron Throne has a crater in his head. I guess this'll lead to a domino effect resulting in the end of the Targaryen dynasty. Alright, same time next week for the 6th and final Chris view of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the episode. Thanks for watching.